This is John Colo with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. This is for all you guys out there, and I know there's some that I've seen on their YouTube channel exclaim, "You can't grow leafy greens in the summertime because it's too hot." Well, here's the thing, guys. I live in one of the hottest cities in the entire United States. Phoenix is often ranked as the hottest city in the US. Las Vegas is number 2. This year, 2024, this garden hit 120 degrees for over 5 days. It was over 115 degrees straight every single day. And for over 90 days, it's basically been over 100 degrees straight up. And look at my garden, guys. Is it withering away like next door over here? No, I have a green tropical paradise in my backyard. Some of these plants in one season grew like 8 feet tall. Is absolutely insane. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys once and for all the crops you can grow in the heat, easily over 100. And if you live in an area where it's more humid and in the 80s or 90s, these plants will be no problem whatsoever, because most of these plants are actually from the tropics, which is the nature that they like, which is hot and humid climates. Of course, I have found that many of these also grow great in the arid desert climate. So let's go ahead and share with you guys my 10 fast growing leafy greens for the summer. Some of these were only planted literally 2 months ago. All right, first leafy green I want you guys to grow, and hopefully some of you guys are already growing it. This basically is my Moringa tree, and literally every winter time it goes dormant. You can see here all the old dormant sticks. The top, stems will lose their lives. You can see I've basically been not cutting them back every year, but the bottom will stay alive. And this year it pushed out 2 new growths. Here's the newest growth, which is already 4 feet, and this other growth that probably started around May is now 8 feet tall. I mean, I got a tape measure here. We can measure this. Look at this, 8 feet tall of leafy greens that I can harvest any day of the year. Now, this is a very anti-cancer plant, anti-aging, full of BITCs, which are isothiocyanates. I'd love to just pick the leaves and juice them in my juices. I like to pick the baby leaves to add them to salads and smoothies, and of course I also like to basically take the center growth tips right as it's growing, and those go in my salads. This tree thrives on neglect. I have an irrigation system that comes on, and otherwise it comes back year after year in my zone 9A. If you guys live in a zone 9B or better, you may be able to also keep it alive. That being said, if you're in like a zone 8, you better mulch it heavy and hope that the roots stay alive and don't overwater in the winter. That being said, otherwise you can grow these as an annual plant and have them in a pot. Link down below to my recent video on that. All right, next heat-loving green that you guys can grow very easily. This one also comes back for me year after year. This one has probably been here about 3 years or 4 years. This is known as the Mayan Spinach or Chaya tree. This is the narrow leaf Chaya, and then over here we have the wide leaf Chaya that has, a little bit different leaf format. Now, very important, all these greens in this episode can be eaten raw, except for the Chaya. You gotta cook the Chaya. It's got some cyanide compounds in there. If you don't cook them properly, it is very simple and easy to cook it out. As you guys can see, this year it's actually flowering for me. And this year, in just a few months since I think it started growing in April, right, we can measure this guy. This guy is already topping 6 feet tall now. Just a few months of growth, thriving in the 100+ degree weather here of Las Vegas. The third leafy green you guys can grow that'll do especially well in the tropics, especially Florida, Hawaii. This thing will grow as a tree. For me, I grow as an annual because I cannot keep it alive during the winters when the temperature gets below 32 degrees. This is known as the Basella or Abelmoschus manihot, Abelmoschus manihot. And this has amazing leaves you could eat. I love to pick the baby leaves raw, eat them in salads. The larger leaves, including the stems, I will cook up. And once again, this guy, right, these were planted from little starts I got from Baker Creek that were literally about that tall, right? And check it out, that was planted in May. And then check it out now, we're here in the beginning of August. And we're sitting at, these are over 5 feet tall at this point, literally in just 90 days. And guys, I planted like over 50 of these in my garden. I have 2 of these raised beds. Now, yes, this is the tallest one, but most of them are definitely pushing 4 feet, and they will be fine in the full sun here in the desert. They do get a little bit droopy in the middle of the day, but I do water often throughout the day so that they can drink and cool themselves off. The 4th leafy green that will thrive in the summer in the heat is the Longevity Spinach, also known as Gynura procumbens. And if we take the tape measure out, these guys are pushing 2 feet tall, but they have multiple stems that come out. These were also planted from small little starts from Baker Creek Seed Company, planted in May. So you guys can see these guys are just full of greens. And once again, on these guys, I planted over 50 plants as well in my garden. A lot here, one in a raised bed and one against the back wall that I hope to continue to grow. This is known as the anti-diabetes plant. You can cook them or eat them raw. I prefer to eat them raw. If you try to juice them, it'll make a really kind of slimy juice. I will also actually cook them. But yeah, so many different leaves you could eat when harvesting for salads. I just come to the little small baby leaves and pick them and eat them. Really nice, fine, neutral flavor. All right, next up we got my favorite leafy green that is super easy to grow. A lot of these greens have been growing for like 90 days. This one has only been growing literally for 60 days. 60 days of growth. This wall has filled in. These were all done from cuttings. And if we measure these guys, they're basically 4 feet tall at this point. I literally have more leafy greens than I could eat. This is known as the water spinach or ong choy. It's an Ipomoea family plant related to the morning glory. It is considered a noxious weed in some states, so please check your state laws before growing it. It is not a weed here in Las Vegas, because when the weather hits below 40 degrees, this guy is checking out. But above 100, man, it literally grows inches a day. And look at this, this is nice and full, so many different leaves to eat. Once again, I picked the baby leaves for salads, and the larger leaves are used for cooking. And these leaves I love the most because, like, this to me is my summer lettuce. They are very mild, very neutral. You can make a whole salad out of this. They're nice and tender, so delicious and so nutritious. And I remind you guys, a lot of these foods that I'm growing in the summer that thrive in this summer heat, they're not domesticated vegetables. What I mean by that, I mean that these are based on wild foods that have not been hybridized to the extent of things like romaine lettuce that many of you guys are used to. Consequently, these have been used by indigenous peoples and traditional cultures around the world for many different healing and helping them with many different ailments, you know, over the many years, traditional medicinal uses of these guys. So whether these are going to be anti-diabetic, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, contain tons of antioxidants, of course, contain chlorophyll and tons of protein, as well as trace minerals, especially if you're supplementing your soil like I do with rock dust as well as kelp. Actually, I have a video coming out, if it's not already, on growing the water spinach, so you can see how I actually grew all these from literally cuttings I bought at a farmer's market. I'll put a link down below to that video. So you guys just saw the water spinach, which is Ipomoea aquatica, and then this plant right here is called Ipomoea batatas, or sweet potato vine. This happens to be the lilac purple sweet potato that I am growing up the side of my house to keep my house cool, and also to get the vines off the ground so I don't step on them and damage them. As you guys can see, this goes all the way up to the top here, and we're basically pushing 6 feet tall on these vines. Now you're thinking, John, those are sweet potatoes, they're not leafy greens. Well, I want to remind you guys, the sweet potato is an amazing plant because not only is it growing the tubers in the pots, I found that they're not good to grow in raised beds, but when I grow them in a pot, I dump the pot out and I have lots of sweet potatoes easily harvestable. But in addition, it makes the vines. And as you guys can see, this vine is 6 feet tall. And all these leaves on the vine can be eaten. Once again, this is also related to the morning glory. It thrives and loves the heat. If you guys live in a tropical environment, this may even grow year-round for you. These leaves also have been very researched. If you're growing a purple variety of the tuber, the leaves have been known also to contain high amounts of anthocyanins. Looked that up in a study yesterday. And these leaves could be eaten raw or cooked. The same with a sweet potato, that you could eat the sweet potatoes technically raw. I do encourage you guys to steam them and then cool them for eating for the best resistant starch capability. And when you guys grow sweet potatoes, I encourage you guys to grow the purple kind. Link down below to my video where I go into the importance of growing purple vegetables. But nonetheless, for these guys, on the large leaves, I'll harvest them, and then those ones I'll steam up in the Instant Pot. You could literally steam them for like 1 minute and they're good to eat. And you can harvest them small and young and tender if I'm going to eat them for salads. I will say the water spinach has a much better flavor because it's more neutral. This one has a small bite to it, but it's not bad at all. So yeah, the sweet potato vine, another really easy to grow. I mean, look, I got this whole trellis filled with sweet potato actually going both ways. Right. The sweet potato vine was also planted from the little starts from Baker Creek in May, so that is literally 3 months, and this is all the amazing growth I've gotten in just 3 months. The 7th leafy green that I want to show you guys real quick is actually right next to my sweet potato vine. It's actually this guy right here. This is known as the Malabar Spinach vine. So once again, we'll get out the tape measure for those of you guys who don't believe me. This is going up to the peak of my roof here. See me growing up my roof here pretty soon. And if we measure this, this is 7 feet on this vine, guys. And every one of these leaves is edible, from these small little baby leaves or the tender shoots, the tips at the end. You could pick the leaves. Tender leaves pretty much taste like the larger leaves, a little bit less fibrous, but nonetheless, all these leaves are edible raw. Now, these definitely have probably the most mucilaginous kind of flavor, so it's a little bit slimy. Some people that don't like these textures may not like this, so you may not want to, grow this one. But I'll cook this up in with a mixture of all my other greens, and I really don't even notice it. Of course, you guys can also eat these raw. They were really unique flavor. A little bit of bite to them. But the amazing thing about this plant is that I didn't even plant it. It wasn't from a cutting. It wasn't from a start. I didn't put seeds. Basically, this plant grew here last year, and you can see some of the seeds were still hanging out that were stuck to the trellis here. Some of these seeds just basically dropped in the soil below, and then these seeds germinated, and then they grew automatically when they're supposed to. I wasn't even really paying attention. I think these started to come up around May, and they were little plants, and then I trained them up the trellis, and now you guys can see pushing 7 feet tall, growing up onto my roof, right? I don't want you guys to listen to fools online that tell you it's too hot to grow leafy greens. I do it here 100+ degrees, guys. 7 feet tall right here, 6 feet tall. I have so many greens coming out my you-know-what. I wish you're here. I could share some with you. All right, the 8th leafy green is actually, honestly, one of my favorite, and it's actually one of the most nutritious of this entire video. It is known as Egyptian spinach, or Molokhia, also known as the jute plant. And I first learned about Molokhia actually at a trade show where they were selling basically dried Molokhia powder, that they had little tables and graphs that showed how much more nutrition it is than lettuce in beta-carotene and protein and all these different things, right? And I was like, man, it'd be cool if I could grow my own. Then I found I could grow my own, and I also found that it grows really easily in Las Vegas in the heat. Last year, actually, I went to Florida, got a plant start from my friend. This thing grew like gangbusters, and then it actually dropped seeds. Some of the seeds dropped, which germinated, but most of the seeds I collected. And then basically I put the seeds in heated water, right? So it had to germinate in warm water. And then I pressure soaked it under vacuum for probably several hours. And then I took the wet seeds, put them in the soil in May, And now look at this. This is some of the plants I got. The tallest one is right here, but these guys are also pretty tall. But I want to go ahead and measure this one for you guys. Once again, we measure this. We're basically pumping 6 feet tall on the Egyptian spinach, right? Once again, these were planted from seeds in May. And I'm gonna tell you guys, for the first 30 days, they like grew this much. They were like really small. They got about this big. Then they started growing by leaps and bounds. And now look at this. These guys are taller than me. And these leaves are completely edible. They are amazing. Even the larger leaves that look like this, really nice and neutral flavor. A little bit more mucilaginous than the water spinach, but way less mucilaginous than the Malabar spinach. But the amazing thing about this is that this also has a very neutral flavor and is a really good tasting green. Easily another amazing lettuce substitute you guys can grow. Near the end of the season, it'll actually put out these little okra-like pods. Normally they're long. Some versions of the red stem Egyptian spinach may have round pods. These pods are edible when young, if you get them really young. But once they get more mature, you want to definitely collect the seeds and save them, because as I learned, all the seeds germinate. And as you guys can see, these were planted before, like say this guy right here, which is pushing 4 feet, a bele, and these guys are even outgrowing the bele. I think the thing that's not outgrowing this guy is some of the Malabar spinach that also came up from seed in this bed that's actually just winding its way up the Egyptian spinach. But nonetheless, Egyptian spinach, another amazing leafy green that you guys could grow as an annual in hot gardens wherever you live. This guy loves the heat, and when I visited Jake Mace many years ago, he had a whole bed of Egyptian spinach, and now I really know how easy it is to grow this. No pests pretty much even bother this plant. You can see all the leaves, there's no damage. I have not sprayed anything on it. And that's pretty much the same with all these greens I'm sharing with you guys. Like, nothing bothers any of these greens. I haven't sprayed anything on any of these guys, and they are just thriving here in the weather, in the heat. All right, 9th leafy green you guys can grow in the heat. And once again, this one I didn't even plant. It literally comes up as a weed, and it has been coming up as a weed in my garden for many years. I think I used it as an understory for my peppers that I used to grow in this very bed. I think that was happening when Dr. Joel Furman visited my garden many years ago. Link down below to that video. Nonetheless, it still comes back every single year without me doing nothing. And check it out. I have copious amounts of Purslane, high in omega-3 essential fatty acids, growing without any concern. I guess the main concern I have is that it is shading out some of the other plants that I am intentionally growing, like the basil here that is just struggling. But as you guys can see, the Purslane is thriving in the heat. And actually, another thing that's growing, which is kind of good, is giving it a little bit of shade, is some of my cucumber vines. So these are special cucumber vines from the Cucumber Shop online. These are special heat-tolerant round cucumbers from like the Middle East or something, man. So I'm really excited to see how they grow this year. But nonetheless, grow some Purslane, guys. Go out and harvest wild seeds. You can get domesticated versions of Purslane that have larger leaves and grow tall. But I'll tell you guys that the Purslane, one very simple and easy to grow leafy green that can be eaten raw and is completely edible. Has a nice lemony flavor. I love it so much. And once again, I have unlimited Purslane to eat. Once again, proven that these things can be easily grown in 100+ degree weather when it's hot out. So don't believe the lie that you can't grow greens in the heat. All right, the 10th and final leafy green I want to show you guys is actually a new one to me. So when I learn about a new leafy green, I always like to try them and grow them in different areas of my garden. It is said that this plant loves shade, but actually I planted some of these in morning sun. This one's in more shade, actually. The one in more shade is doing well, but it's maybe having some nutrient deficiency because the leaves aren't quite as dark as they should. But nonetheless, I want to measure this plant. This plant is basically pushing, well, actually over 2 feet tall at this point. And this plant is from Vietnam. There's no real English name. It's known as the Hoan Ngoc. Hoan Ngoc. It's actually spelled here on the plant tag. You guys can see it's Hoanngoc is the name of this. This is sourced from Southwest Nursery. Hoan Ngoc. And this leafy green is amazing. It has been used traditionally, raw or cooked, and has a myriad of health benefits, including being anti-cancerous, and also this has a special enzyme in there, a protease enzyme that can dissolve like blood clots, it is said in some of the published studies in there. So I mean, once again guys, this is also from the tropics. This is not gonna like the cold weather, so I'm probably gonna dig these up and try to bring them in the greenhouse or transfer them to somewhere more tropical in the wintertime to see if I could keep them alive. If you guys live in the tropics like South Florida where it barely gets cold, you may be able to grow these year round, or of course if you're in Hawaii or the Caribbean, these guys would love that climate and grow year round for you for sure. All right guys, so there you have it. You guys have the 10 easiest to grow heat-loving vegetables. Seriously guys, I plant these from cuttings, from seed, from starts. I have an irrigation system that comes on every day that waters them, and they grow. I think the biggest problem I have is that they grow so fast that I gotta remember to pin them up. So I definitely will say the water spinach and the sweet potato vine have been the most work to pin up. Of course, the easiest were things like the Egyptian spinach that basically have a nice fat stem because it is known as the jute, which actually has a nice fibrous stalk, which is actually used to making the jute fiber. You know, basically grows up erect on its own, as well as the Basella, as well as the Chaya and Moringa. All these guys are super simple and super easy to grow in the heat. So whether you're concerned about climate change and the weather getting warmer and you know no longer being able to grow spinach, or you already live in South Florida where you believe it's too hot to grow vegetables, well hey, that crazy dude John Kohler is growing all kinds of different leafy green vegetables in the summer, and I'm confident that after watching this video, you could do it too. So get your plant starts, your cuttings, or your seeds from Baker Creek or other sources online. Make your own sweet potato slips, buy your own Ong Choy or water spinach from the Asian market or the farmer's market like I do, root them in water, link down below to that video, and grow your own just like me. My channel is called Growing Your Greens, and I did not do this haphazardly. It is because greens are the most nutritious food on the entire planet, high in protein, vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals with the least amount of calories. And it's the most undereaten food at the same time. So I really want you guys to have your greens, grow your greens, and eat them too, especially in the summer when temperatures can exceed over 100 degrees and you're not able to grow your normal vegetables. No, for those of you guys that want to make the excuse, I can't grow my piddly lettuce in the summertime, I want you guys to get used to growing some of these more nutritious wild style crops in your garden, because you will take your nutrition, your diet, your health to the next level by exposing your body to new plant phytochemicals that you were formerly not getting in things like hybridized lettuce and other vegetables that grow in the wintertime when it's really cool outside. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. More importantly, help me get this video to 100,000 views. So share this with other people that live in hot climates or believe that you can't grow leafy greens in the heat, because I will disprove them every single time. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes. I'll be coming out every 5 to 7 days. You don't know where to show up, what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. And make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check out past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 1,700 episodes at this time on this channel, dedicated to teach you guys how to grow all your own greens at home. I'll put a couple links to some of the heat-loving vegetable videos that I made in the past in this very garden. I make these kinds of videos every single year to show you guys what you guys can grow in the heat. So with that, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time. Until then, remember, keep on growing.